Today we have the instructional how-to video for the Bobby Dunning trailer. Going to go over the operations, functions, and shutdown procedures of your brand new concession. Got all your exterior lights on here at this moment. I am running on shore power. I have your generator in my building to keep it out of the weather until you come in for the day of pickup. As you can see, plugged into shore power here. Your generator will be sitting on this platform fastened down. We'll start off with the city water fill box for the restroom. This is for filling your fresh water tank itself and using the water pump. Periodically, if you want to, you can put some bleach or sanitizer in this tank for cleaning purposes. If you want to run your pressurized water bypassing the tank and pump, you can hook up your 3/4 inch hose to this spout here, again bypassing the tank and pump itself. Exterior outlet working. I'm going to open up that flip up door for the concession window itself. Flip up counter using the middle screw. Once you get to about 90 degrees, pressing upward is going to allow these pins to roll outward. As you see here, there's one on the back side or the inside. As you see there, as long as you can see those tabs, you're good to go for using your counter itself. For your crank jacks on all four corners, they take a 3/4 inch socket with an impact gun. Before you distribute weight on those jacks, make sure that you block or scotch the tires in such a way that there can be no movement whatsoever. If there is any slight movement, the weight of the trailer itself will allow those jacks to roll over and fold and break. At that point, they're not going to be covered under any warranty. Rear railing is removable. You need to load wood in, make it easier. Got your waste drain valve for the kitchen area itself. The water that's dripping off, as you see at this moment, is the condensation off of the AC unit. When you're ready to dump the waste tank, you can remove the cap, hook up your 3-inch RV waste hose, pull the gate valve outward, release the contents from the wastewater tank for the kitchen itself. Once that is complete, be able to shut that valve, remove the hose, and put the cap back into place. You could use a 3/4 inch hose also. Just make sure it is a different style hose so that it does not get mixed up with your freshwater hose. Same thing for the waste tank for the restroom. Removing the cap, hook up your hose, and for the approved area, then pull the valve, be able to release the contents from that tank. Once finished, close that valve, remove the hose, put the cap back in place. For your propane water heater, I turn the power switch on, giving operation to the control head inside. That eye indicates it's in the on position. This can shut back and be able to close. This is your city water fill box for the kitchen itself. Same thing, this is the non-pressure side, so filling your fresh water tank and using the water pump. Periodically, you will want to put some bleach or sanitizer in here for cleaning the tank, the freshwater tank itself. Or if you choose to do so, you can bypass the tank and pump, hooking up your food grade water hose to this outlet here and having pressurized water continuously. You have your toilet made by Dometic. Battery for the 12-volt lighting system. Light switch and your power roof vent switch. Before I ever plugged the water heater in, I made sure I had continuous water flow coming out of the hot water side itself. (120 degrees and still counting). On off switch for the fresh water or the water pump itself. You see the plug for the water heater. So I've got your fuse panel for the 12-volt lighting system. I've got your battery charger, and we've got your 100-amp panel, all 20-amp independent circuits. We have your power cord itself. That power cord will run down through this cable hatch. That way you can close the restroom door itself. This tank is off. Tank is strapped in place. I've got the door holder holding your door back so that you can, if you choose to do so, have your screen door in place to allow fresh air to come in. Go ahead and show the remaining outlets working. Got your fridge at 33 degrees. Have your freezer sitting at 0. All the packaging and contents in the freezer itself. Now I've got the packaging contents in the fridge as well as for the 3 deep fryers. You also have your drain tubes in here for draining the oil out of the vat before movement. Fire suppression, paperwork, AC and heat, your stove, and also your griddle itself. Paperwork and original packaging contents in your sandwich prep. So, as you can see, the red light indicating that gives power to the control head for the propane water heater. Turning the water on. That flame indicates the burner is on and heating up to temp. If when you turn that on after this unit is on, if you get an error code, that would be because air got in the line. Once I disconnect the gas after this video itself, you have the possibility of having a little bit of air in the line. So if that happens, if you turn this on and get an error code, turn it back off, give it 10 seconds, turn it back on, and that flame should come on for the igniter itself. You have your fire suppression tank here, control head here. This system is live and active and ready to go. However, you will need to have your local fire suppression company as well as your fire marshal come out and tag and certify the system itself. WAP sink. Fresh water tank, as you can see the water level in the tank itself, it's a transparent color. Back of the water heater, you do have your gas valve to be able to shut off the propane to the water heater also. I have all of your equipment, the pilot lights lit here right now. I'm going to go over how to properly light these. I go ahead and pre-light and test everything and then make the video with everything still lit, as 2 hands are needed for the deep fryers itself. We'll start off with the burners. You never control or never turn these on until your pilots are lit itself. You will take lighters like this, you will place in being able to light each one of these pilot lights, just like so. Again, you can see the pilots behind each one. There's enough gas coming out of the system for those pilots with these in these control knobs in the off position. Now once you do have a steady stream of pilots, then at that point you can activate those burners to the desired temp as needed. You'll also see I have metal wire wrapping the burners itself around the frame of the unit. You do not need to remove this, although due to excessive heat over time, that wire will break. Just simply replace with more metal wire of any caliber. It's baling wire is all I have. It's nothing complex, very simple wire, just wrapping around the burners, holding them in place for safe transit. You do have a spillover tray itself. Now for the oven, it's a little bit different. You don't need a lighter for it. This stays in the off position still. For lighting the oven, this is your igniter. It's like a grill igniter, but you have to hold and press this button here. While you're holding that button with one hand, you have to hit the igniter itself. That is the eyelet hole, so you can see that pilot going. So once you have your pilot going, you continue to hold this pilot button in place for generally about 10 seconds. As long as you can slowly release here and be able to see your flame, you're good to go in closing this door. For video purposes, I go ahead and turn the unit to 350. And 350 is just a number I picked. And it, with that being said, it will ignite that orifice at 200 degrees if needed. For the griddle, it's going to be the same concept. These stay in the off position. You will administer your fire. All you have to do is have your fire right below, and you'll be able to get that pilot light as indicated there. And that's going to be on both sides. If it's good to use a mirror or something so you can see that pilot underneath, because it is a tight little area in between those. As long as you can assure and know that those pilots are lit, then you can rotate your control knobs to the on position and get that griddle top to the desired temp as needed. You do have a grease tray itself that will need to be monitored daily. Do be careful, this plate here does get very hot as well. That heat is very transparent. Now for lighting the deep fryers, again I'm going to show you them working and then I'll turn them off and explain how to light them. So every time I do a startup on a deep fryer, again, this is going to be in the off position. You'll see there's no pilot. I do this twice to make sure this thermostat connects with this gas valve. At that point, then I rotate to where the L meets the red dot and allows you to push in. You need to push and hold here and administer your fire to your thermopile. Once the thermopile is lit, you will continue to hold this button in place for 10 to 15 seconds. As long as you can slowly release this pilot button and keep a strong flame on your thermopile, then you can rotate to the on position. And when ready, activate the thermostat to the desired temp as needed. Just make sure at the end of the day, this goes back to the off position as well as your pilot itself on the gas valve. The drain tube will thread into this orifice here, open up and allow you to drain the contents from the vat every time that you move this unit or for cleaning purposes itself. Back to the off position. I do also want to note that if this does get removed for lighting purposes, do make sure that you put this back in place. It just clips on, it hooks on up on the top hooks. That way it helps hold the flames and heat inside. If not, if any spillover of oil was to go down, when you turn that flame could come up and catch that oil on fire. Definitely do not want that to happen. Again, make sure every day back in the off position. Again, carry plenty of these lighters in place. Do not cram any boxes in here that can hit this gas valve. That is for your fire suppression system. Nobody other than a licensed fire suppression company needs to tamper with that as well. Hood switch and light switch for the hood. Interior and exterior light switches. I'm going to go ahead and shut the gas off and then explain how to turn the gas on safely. I'll turn the hood off just for a moment. So upon every time that you are fixing to start up your brand new concession, every time after transit, once you have your power going, you want to walk through your cook line equipment to make sure everything's off. Also, once you initially start up, if you choose to, you can turn your AC unit on if you have the power to spare. Again, I'm turning it off right now because it's no longer needed. But these units, they're effective for cleaning and prep and cleanup, so to speak. They're not going to be able to handle the volume of air going out when that hood system's on. So it will be hot in here if you're dependent on this AC unit. You could have 3 more AC units where those roof vents are, and it still wouldn't be able to keep up. Although you can open those roof vents up to allow fresh air to come in over the cook line itself. That will help. Concession window open, rear door open if you choose to. But AC is primarily prep and cleanup. Just make sure that you turn it off at the end of the day. That way you don't have that initial draw on the startup. Same thing for the hood fan itself. So with that being said, you want to walk through and make sure that all of your cook line equipment is in the off position. Even if you did it the night before, just good rule of thumb, make sure everything is in the off position. You will turn your exhaust fan on itself. Highly recommend that hood fan is running before you turn that gas on. And at that point, you open the gas valve, pressurizing from your tank to your shutoff valve itself. And if you are going to find a leak at this point from anything transit-wise, what I mean by transit-wise is piping runs down through the floor itself and hugs the frame of the trailer. Road debris such as rocks, blocks of wood, even tires off cars or semi-trucks. Anything that hits us at any rate of speed can bust, damage, or break the pipe. So whichever regulator you're using or you're turning on, the most important thing you can do at that point, when you're turning that quarter turn on, you're listening at your regulator itself. You should hear the line charge, which is nothing more than shh, and that's it. If you hear continuous gas flow coming out of either one of your regulators on startup, you immediately shut this off, contact a gas plumber to come out and inspect the piping. Do not take a chance. There's no job worth it. And again, this goes for you, yourself, or any of your personnel. They need to be very aware of this. When they turn this on, they hear the line charge, they're good to go. If they hear more gas coming through, they shut it off. The vent will not go on. You do not need to operate. What happens is propane, again, being heavy and is going to fall down to the ground, is going to pull under your trailer itself. With it pulling under your trailer itself, you're sitting on top of a bomb at that point. Not recommended to take a chance in any way, any fashion, to keep letting that gas go through. Now, once your equipment is running, once you're in operation and you have everything full steam ahead, all burners are open, they're lit safely, you're cooking, you're going to hear gas flow coming through it. But initial startup, you should never hear gas coming through your 2-stage regulator. Regardless if it's the driver's side or the passenger side, either one of them, you should never hear that. Down to -5 on your freezer. We're at 35 on your fridge. Again, back up to the roof vents while we're looking at them. Open them up as needed for fresh air to come in. Make sure to close them before transit. Crosswinds can damage or rip off that top piece and break it. Definitely don't want that to happen. Again, always drain the oil out of the vats before any transportation. Make sure that you monitor this drip cup or your grease cup, as well as this tray itself, and put in a safe place for transit. Always make sure those burners are strapped in place. Up to the hood system itself, those filters are removable for cleaning purposes and will need to be cleaned, whether it's daily or every other day or every other week, depending on how much grease is in the air and how much this equipment is being used. So with that being said, you'll have to monitor that yourself or have your personnel do that. You can clean this with mild soap mild degreaser and hot water itself. Thoroughly rinse, allow adequate time to air dry before going back into operation. You will see there is sensors up above those filters behind them. They are set for heat. They are heat sensors, what they are. So if you operate your cooking equipment without the hood system on and it gets to an excessive degree, that sensor will pop and everything in that red tank will come emitting out of these nozzles and shut your operation down as well. And cost a lot of money for cleanup purposes. Never run the hood fan without the filters in place. When you put the filters in place, you want to keep the gap as minimal as possible. If you have a gap like this, you're going to have grease blow by going up into the top fan, which brings me on to the next topic. You want to have your fan up top cleaned periodically. I would start off with quarterly visits. If it's not as bad on the first quarter, skip one quarter and monitor to the next one. Again, find a hood cleaning company that specializes that in your area. Do not take a chance on any grease buildup that could be in that top extraction fan. When that's being done, the gas needs to be off for sure. There needs to be no operation. The business will be shut down while that is being cleaned. These nozzles are set in place according to this equipment that is laying under it. Do not tamper with those also. Also, for shutdown procedure, make sure that you turn all of your light switches off. I do apologize. Not having any power draw on the battery itself. You can release the door itself, being able to shut, latch, and lock this door through here. Lock or put a pin if choosing to do so. Always make sure that pins or locks are in the top of the removable railing also. Any cords that are plugged on the outside, make sure that you remove those. Again, for the wastewater, make sure that you shut the valves, remove the hoses, and put the caps back in place. You also want to make sure that you do go to the propane water heater and turn it off. And also any hoses that are here, disconnect and make sure that you lock these doors as well. So at shutdown time, you want to make sure that all power draw is completely off. If you did use your crankjacks, make sure that you bring those to an upright position safely. Once they get to the top part, that is enough. Do not continue to tighten, as you will damage the scissor jacks also. You do have roller wheels here at the rear to protect the back end of the trailer also. Also, you want to make sure that you have adequate air pressure in your tires at all times, and for safety, always check your lug nuts before every time you travel. Each and every one of them need to be checked. Also, this rubber cap does get removed at least once a year. There's a grease zerk fitting behind this rubber cap on each wheel that needs to be grease applied to it, heavy duty, high temp grease. That way you have good, long-lasting bearing life. Also, before transit, you want to make sure that blinkers, running lights, brake lights are always working properly. For the flip-up counter, pressing back upward allows those pins to roll back over to let that counter flip down. And then shutting, latching, at least putting a lock in one side. If you choose to do both sides, you can do so, but at least one side needs to have a lock for safety purposes. We thank you for taking the time to view this video. I make these videos to go over the trailer before the customer gets here or before we deliver the trailer. Make these videos so that the customer can be aware of how to properly function, light the equipment, operate the trailer, and safely close it down and operate their business. Also, it's a good tool for new employees coming aboard, especially ones that have never dealt with propane, as propane is highly explosive. It is a gas. Again, I thank you so much for taking the time to view this video. If you do have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Be glad to assist in any way. We thank you so much for your business and wish you the very best.